July 31st, a cabinet meeting at Camp David. A Reuters photographer aimed a long lens at the Notepad in front of the American Treasury Secretary. 4 words and a number. Buy Japanese yen, 5 to 10 billion. Treasury secretaries don't leave their shopping lists where wire photographers can read them. And Scott Bessent had form. A day later, he joked that he wrote things on that pad so people could photograph them and think they'd got a scoop. So it was almost certainly on purpose. And it worked before America spent $1. The moment traders saw that photo, they started buying yen for him. But nobody asked the obvious question. Why is America buying Japan's money at all? The yen had fallen to 164 to the dollar. Worst in 40 years. When a currency drops that hard, the country defends it. It sells off its foreign reserves and buys its own money back. Japan's foreign reserves are American government debt, $1.14 trillion of it. So Japan defending the yen means Japan dumping American bonds? And that sends American interest rates up. Mortgages, car loans, the government's own borrowing. That's the trap. America rescued Japan to protect America. The alternative was Japan being forced to sell off America's debt. The news never got to the better question: how Japan came to own $1 trillion of America in the first place. That starts September 22, 1985, in a New York hotel ballroom. 5 men signed a deal that ended Japan's boom, opened 30 years of near-zero interest rates, and turned Japanese savings into the cheapest money on earth. Money that flowed straight into American bonds. Everyone tells that story as something America did to Japan. Japan asked for it. September 21st, 1985, Japan's finance minister Noboru Takeshita plays 9 holes of golf outside Tokyo, makes sure the photographers see him do it, then quietly boards a Pan Am flight to New York. Pan Am, because if anyone spotted the finance minister on a Japan Airlines plane, they'd ask where he was going on a Saturday. The next afternoon, 5 men sit down in a ballroom at the Plaza Hotel. The finance ministers of America, Japan, West Germany, France, and Britain. The deal has already been worked out in secret over the summer, so the meeting itself takes about 20 minutes. They sign a statement with one enormous idea buried in the careful language. The dollar is too strong, and the 5 of them are going to push it down. Together. On purpose. Understand what America looks like that year. Japanese cars are eating Detroit alive. Japanese chips are beating Silicon Valley at its own invention. America's trade deficit is the biggest in its history, and close to $50 billion of it is Japan alone. Congress is drafting tariff bills with Tokyo's name on them, and Reagan's free trade White House is running out of ways to say no. So America is in that ballroom asking, weaken the dollar, strengthen the yen, make Japanese goods expensive again before Congress does it the ugly way. And Japan says yes before America finishes the sentence. Takeshita opens by volunteering a yen appreciation of more than 10%, more than anyone in the room demanded of him. He has his reasons, and they're good ones. Japan imports nearly all of its oil, priced in dollars, so a stronger yen makes energy cheaper for every factory in the country. A stronger yen buys peace with Congress and keeps American ports open. And Tokyo has ambitions past the factory floor. A strong currency is what turns a manufacturing nation into a banking one, 10%. That's the offer on the table. The market hears the 5 biggest economies want the dollar down and does not stop at 10. 240 yen to the dollar, the weekend of the plaza, 160 within a year. By early 1988, 120. The offer had been 10%. The market delivered 100. Japanese has a word for it. Endaka, the high yen. It's rare for a currency level to get its own name. It's rarer for that name to become the name of a recession. Do the math from a factory floor. A car that sells in California for $10,000 used to send 2.4 million yen home to Nagoya. At 120, The same car at the same sticker price sends home 1.2 million. Half the revenue. Same steel, same workers, same electricity bill. The giants can absorb it. Toyota has cash in the bank, and it can move assembly to Kentucky. Now walk down the supply chain to a metal stamping shop in Oda Ward, Tokyo's factory district. 11 employees, 1 press machine, 30 years of contracts with the export lines. That shop gets a phone call. Cut your price 40%, or the order goes to Korea. The owner cuts. Then he stops replacing the workers who retire. Then he mortgages the building. Multiply that workshop by 100,000 and you have Japan in 1986. The Trade Ministry starts using a phrase that terrifies it: hollowing out. The country's own planners are afraid the deal Japan volunteered for is going to de-industrialize it. Politicians scream at the Ministry of Finance. The ministry leans on the Bank of Japan, and the Bank of Japan reaches for the only painkiller a central bank has. It pulls the lever 5 times. 5 rate cuts in 14 months. The official rate lands at 2.5%, the lowest in the Bank of Japan's history, and it stays there for 2 years. The logic is a cushion. Cheap loans will carry the exporters while they adjust to the new yen. The exporters adjust. The cheap money stays. And it goes looking for somewhere to live. It finds land. Japanese banks lend against property. All that lending pushes property up, which makes the collateral worth more, which lets the banks lend even more against it. Japan has accidentally built a machine that pays people for owning dirt, and every loan feeds the machine another turn. 4 years in, commercial land in central Tokyo is up 300%, and the numbers start to sound like typing errors. The grounds of the Imperial Palace, a park you can walk around in an hour, are worth more on paper than every building and every acre in California. A golf club membership can cost $3 million, and there's an exchange where memberships trade like stocks. Banks write 100-year mortgages so your grandchildren can finish paying for your apartment. This is considered a normal product. I run a noodle shop. I'd like a small loan. Of course. What's the land under the shop worth? It's 40 square meters. It's 40 square meters in Tokyo. Here's $2 million. What if the noodles can't pay that back? The dirt will. By 1989, Japanese money is everywhere on Earth. An insurance company pays $40 million for Van Gogh's sunflowers, triple the record for any painting ever sold at auction. Mitsubishi buys Rockefeller Center. 7 of the 10 biggest banks in the world are Japanese. And on December 29, 1989, the last trading day of the decade, the Nikkei closes at 38,915. Triple what it was the night of the Plaza. Nobody in charge planned a bubble. They planned a cushion for factory towns. But 8 trading days before that record close, the Bank of Japan quietly changed governors. The new man, Yasushi Meno, has spent his whole career believing cheap money rots a country. He looks at the machine that pays people for owning dirt, and he switches it off. The market barely blinked. He raised again in March, again in August, 6% now, up from 2.5%. Every hike a pin walking toward a balloon. The Nikkei lost nearly half its value in a year. Land took longer, because land always takes longer. Tokyo commercial property fell for 15 straight years, 80% from top to bottom. The banks that had lent $2 million against noodle shops spent the 90s pretending those loans were still good. The companies kept breathing by those pretend loans earned a nickname: zombies. Every country grows bubbles, and every bubble bursts. What made Japan different came after the burst. Rates went down to fight the slump. Then they stayed down. 0.5% by 1995, 0 by 1999. Below 0 by 2016, when banks started paying a penalty for holding cash at all. Sit with what that does to one saver. A retired teacher in Osaka has 10 million yen in postal savings, a full working life of deposits. Her interest for the year, about 100 yen. The vending machine outside the post office charges more than that for a can of coffee. At that rate, her savings would double in roughly 70,000 years. And the stock index that closed at 38,915 in December 1989? It saw that number again in February of 2024, 34 years later. That's the famous version of the story. The lost decades, the cautionary tale, the chapter they teach in economics classes. But something else grew in those 30 years of zero. Quietly, off to the side. Tokyo had become the place where money was free, and nobody asked where free money goes. Free money leaks. By the 2000s, anyone, a hedge fund in London, a bank in Sydney, a dentist in Nagoya, could borrow yen for almost exactly nothing. Meanwhile, an American Treasury bond paid 4%, some years. So a trade wrote itself. Borrow in Tokyo, swap the yen for dollars, buy the Treasury bond, pocket the gap between Japan's 0 and America's 5, year after year after year. Traders call it the carry trade, and it works like a friend who lends you money and never asks for it back. The catch is that he can ask. And when he finally does, he asks everyone on the same day. This was never a Wall Street secret. Japanese households ran the same trade from their kitchen tables. Housewives managing the family savings opened currency accounts by the million, and dealing desks in London had a name for that entire army: Mrs. Watanabe. Her favorite destinations were the same as the hedge funds: American bonds, American stocks, anything on earth that paid more than Japan's nothing. Follow 30 years of that flow and you arrive somewhere strange. Japan, the loser, the cautionary tale, became the American government's biggest foreign lender, bigger than China. Over $1 trillion of treasury bonds, plus the stocks, plus the office towers. The savings of the zero-rate generation, parked in America because home paid nothing. Then, in August of 2024, the world got a preview of the friend asking for his money back. The Bank of Japan raised its rate to 1/4%. 1/4%. 5 days later, the Nikkei fell 12% in a single session, its worst day since 1987. Margin calls rolled across New York. The S&P dropped 3% in a day. The fear index touched levels last seen in the pandemic. All of that from 1/4%. When the dust settled, UBS did the accounting on the dollar-yen version of the trade. Roughly $500 billion at its peak, and only about half of it had come home. The other half was still out there, still borrowed, still parked in American markets. That means a slice of every index fund and every retirement account in America is riding on money borrowed for free in Tokyo. August 2024 showed what a small piece of that trade going home can do to stock prices. Nobody has ever seen the whole thing go home, which would have been fine if Japan had stopped raising rates. Japan did not stop. June 16th, 2026. The Bank of Japan raises its rate to 1%. The last time Japanese money cost that much was 1995. 31 years, one entire generation of savers ago. The yen fell anyway. Japanese inflation was running hot. American rates still sat far higher, and by late July, the yen touched 164 to the dollar, its weakest since 1986. The year after the Plaza. There's a standard playbook for a falling currency, and every finance ministry on earth knows it. Sell your foreign reserves, buy your own money back. Japan holds the largest reserve pile of any American creditor. But take one step into that playbook and you hit a wall, because Japan's reserves are America. Over $1 trillion of treasury bonds. Defending the yen the normal way means dumping tens of billions of them onto the market, and every bond Japan dumps pushes American interest rates up. Mortgages in Ohio? car loans in Texas, the interest bill on Washington's own debt. We are prepared to defend our currency. With what? Our reserves. Your reserves are our bonds. Yes, we know. I bet we will buy the yen ourselves. That's what the Notepad at Camp David was. That same Friday, the New York Fed sold euros and bought yen for the Treasury's account, working through Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley. The first joint American-Japanese rescue of the yen since 1998. The yen jumped 6 points in a day. And behind the scenes, Washington held open a side door at the Federal Reserve, a lending window where Tokyo can pawn its treasury bonds for dollars without selling a single one. Besant's office put out a statement promising to do it again whenever needed. Of course it did. In 1985, America asked Japan to make itself weaker, and Japan said yes. 41 years later, Japan's weakness is the one thing America can no longer afford. The $2 million noodle shops, the teacher earning 1 coffee a year, Mrs. Watanabe, $1 trillion of Japanese savings sleeping inside America's debt. Takeshita believed he was trading 10% of the yen for Japan's seat at the top table. He got the seat. It cost 30 years, and the 5 men in that ballroom built the one thing none of them asked for. 2 rivals tied so tightly that the only way America can protect itself now is to rescue the country it once asked to lose. One more thing. Japan is what happens when cheap foreign money pours in and never leaves. In 1997, Asia found out what happens when it leaves overnight. 5 economies. One summer, the same trap closing the other way. That story is on your screen right now.